Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today I'm going to be doing quite a few jobs that I've been putting off for one reason or another, and the first one of those is quite literally brilliant. Now, the most significant change that took the longest to do this week, you may not immediately notice as I pan around the room. It's not really so much what you're looking for as opposed to what is actually absent. And if I focus specifically near the door into the Lego room and perhaps in that corner over there, you may notice the absence of my freestanding filming lights that were fine when we started in this room, lighting up whatever I was filming on the day. But as we're filling up the second side as well, there's just nowhere really to put them that isn't sort of directly on base plates in front of buildings and generally getting in the way. So it's long been my ambition to find an alternate solution to kind of fix that long-standing problem. And the first thing I tried was try to get a light to fit on my camera, which meant wherever I looked with my camera, it would be very brightly illuminated. But the problem with that is it casts incredibly long shadows that are noticeable in the footage, and well, it just really doesn't work. So instead what I've done is gone into the ceiling and added lots of lights. So you can see two there, another one there, another one there. They're very bright, so maybe this footage won't come out that well, staring at light bulbs, but there is 5 and 6. So what they are is these deformable LED lamps, which are incredibly powerful. The wattage I forget, but it's absolutely crazy. Well, they are economical in that they're sort of A-rated and so on for economy, but their wattage equivalent is incredibly high. And the problem was that I had 6 sockets in the ceiling already, but they only took these recessed bulbs. And there was no real way that I could add something as powerful as this into such a small package. But fortunately, I discovered a business that makes these adapters, which are exactly the same shape as these bulbs. And they basically convert those recessed sockets into kind of a 3D socket that hangs externally. And then you can put any old bulb you want into that new socket. So now I've got these 6 brilliant bright lights above my city, and although they do spoil the skyline a little in not creating an unbroken ceiling for all of my planes, the light they provide reaches absolutely every corner because it's in a natural light colour and it's coming not only vertically but from quite a sort of broad light base. As you see, they're very sort of wide with their sort of fins on, so it really gets into every nook and cranny. So regardless of where I'm filming, it's always well lit. Whereas before I'd have to readjust all of my light fittings before doing every single shot, and it just took absolutely ages. It was really annoying. I had to move power cables around, which I'd be tripping on or standing on or something like that. And now it's all lit, all at the same time, whether I want to do a long shot or a close-up shot, all the time. So, well, I'm really happy with it. It wasn't even that expensive. So the best solutions are usually the most simple. And it was just the absence of one of these adapters that really prevented it in the past. But I'm incredibly happy with the solution now. And those lights, the freestanding ones, are now a thing of the past. So, yeah, that is the first of our changes. And while I'm over here, I'm just going to add the stunt truck as the vehicle of the week, and this is set 60146. It's really nice with some good advertising for Smooth Racing Oil, the racing oil of champions. And I think I'll just add that down here. And then I need to get onto some other jobs that I've been thinking about for quite a long time that aren't a whole video perhaps in themselves, but if I do a few of them today on top of the lighting, then it should make for good entertainment. So the next one I want to do is to finish the extension for this monorail line, because at the moment it basically goes up to the break with the one track going all the way to the airport, which is right, but then the other one just stops right here at the main station. So I do want to continue that on all the way up to where I've put one post already at the edge of the standing hole. And that does mean that I'm probably going to hit it with my elbow every 2 minutes, but these are the sacrifices I make. Now, before we do the monorail extension, I think I've got a couple of bedoings to give out. One is for potentially using one of my new panel pieces that is now washed with the slats on that would have come from an old school ambulance in place of the clear one on the side of this caravan, which I thought was a really good idea, so I think that's worth a try. Another idea was to use trans light blue colouring for one of the cars of my space spinner, just because we've got one in neon green, got one in trans dark pink, and then having trans bright green was very similar indeed in colour, and the stickers even got blue on it as well. So that's one that I never had the pieces for until now, but there we go. And then a third change that I want to do that's been sort of bugging me and hanging around the pieces that I've just finished washing is adding all of the new fencing to the farm to finish that off. And you can see I've got the fence posts over here to enclose the wheat field. And I've removed 2 of the 4 long fences from this gap here that I will fill with one of the bigger pieces. And I can use one of those to plug the gap on the pig pen, because we don't want them escaping, that I had to borrow to do the gate near the horse. So then we'll have a complete fence, and maybe one day I will change some of it to white, as for the other idea from a subscriber. But basically, at the moment, all my white fencing's got those police stickers on. I'm thinking of using those as a police cordon. So, well, we'll see how that goes. But let's do these 3 amendments, and if they work, we can hand out some bedoings. All right, so there's the new fencing around the farm, and I think that looks a lot neater around the field, stopping people in the fairground just wandering in and getting chopped up by the combine harvester. We've got some more over here, just completing that. So it's the same as all the stuff on this side. And then we've got the hole bridged in the pig pen. So that is almost the farm entirely complete now. I do still need to sort out these struts that are holding up the alien here, or maybe even hanging from the ceiling, just so there's not so many clear bricks visible. And I was going to use some cylinder pieces for that maybe, but we'll see what I can get hold of. They're quite hard to get. But no bedoing for that change, because that was mine. But here is the space spinner with some blue colouring on, and I like that. Definitely contrasts well with the pink and the green. And this is a good example of an idea that was made a very long time ago, or a suggestion rather. But I do write them all down, the good ones. So just because it doesn't happen immediately doesn't mean you won't get a bedoing later. So here is your bedoing. And another bedoing due over here. I think that's an improvement. Definitely hides the motor a bit better. Not that that was a massive priority, but that really does sort of fit in well. You'd have some privacy blinds in your caravan, I'm sure. So there we go. So I really like that one, and a good use of a very old piece. So here is your bedoing. Good linking of a haul video into a city update video. So right now our main task is to link this stub of monorail track going all the way over here to here and the edge of the standing hole, the second standing hole. I've already temporarily removed the tree from its base here to just over here. I may have to change that tree round or just make it shorter or something like that, but the first thing is to get it out of the way. Right, let's get started. Right, so what are the ingredients that we've got to do this work? Well, we've got loads of these large stanchions left, which came with all the original monorail sets. I think I've got plenty of those to be working with. I've got lots of 2x2 black bricks, plus some 2x2 plates that I use to make my 3-coloured stripe to represent the monorail system's colouring. And basically all of that combines to make struts that are this tall, basically 14 brick height, 10 being the main support, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 on top of that. And that will keep it nice and flat with the rest of my system. Then I've got an end piece for the very end, which it dawns on me I shouldn't actually use, because in this case the tram line isn't coming to a sort of nice end when it gets to here. It's sort of got the idea that it's going to be continuing on off to other parts of the city as it gets to the standing hole. So I don't want it sort of looking like it's supposed to terminate here, because if it did, you'd need another station, and I'm not going to be putting another station in here just because it's so close to this station already. And there's another one over there, so it'd really be station overkill. So I'm probably not going to use that sort of termination bit that I have on the other end pieces. But I have got loads of these 1x4 tiles, which are pretty much my favourite 1x4 tile with the yellow and black hazard stripes on, because I use those to hold the pieces of track together. They're the bits that give it strength. And you're supposed to kind of use just 1x4 plates in old grey, but I think these look a lot better. And I kind of say to vehicles passing underneath, watch your head and that sort of thing. Now the distance we've got between the current end of the track and the edge of the standing hole is actually 2.5 base plates, exactly as it turns out, which is handy because these are 32 studs long, equivalent to a base plate. So we've got 2 of those. And you can get the half ones, which are kind of the station stops. But as I said before, I'm not going to have a station stop at the end. So I've got 2 of these 8 long straights as well that will make up the required extra half base plate. So basically they're going to go obviously just straight from here all the way to here. And then it will be a very sort of sharp corner for me to bang into while I'm working over all the subsequent weeks and months. Hopefully not causing a derailment and so on. Now, as I say, I'm not going to put a station in here, and that's purely because of aesthetics, because when you do have a station, you have this great big lumpy bit sticking out one side, and then you have an even bigger lumpy bit with the control switch on sticking out the other side. And because this one will kind of be sandwiched in between 2 buildings, I think, here, I want it to be as sort of slimline as possible. Also, because of the length of the actual tram itself and the switch that thing governs is in the middle of it, it would need to be right about here above the road. And I think it would be even more unsightly if we had this great big lump of a monorail switch right over the middle of the road. So I've put my thinking cap on, and I think we're going to have to come up with an alternate solution that will basically turn the monorail around, but not by using a great big station switch. Because after all, I'm not going to have it stopping here. It's going to bounce off this edge as if it were going somewhere else, and another tram perhaps that appeared at the same time going in the opposite direction to go back into the city. So it's not one that I need to control as such with one of those turning switches. It just needs to have something that pushes the switch and then fires it back the opposite direction. All right, well, what have I come up with? Dun dun dun! This. Yeah, it doesn't look very impressive, does it? Basically, it's a very simple contraption based on a 4x6 plate, which I've actually done in old grey, just so it matches the track itself a lot better. And then the rest I've had to revert to normal light bluish grey, just because either of those pieces didn't exist or I didn't have them. And all it is basically an angled kind of stopper for the control switch on the side of the monorail system itself. Now, if you don't know how that works, effectively the actual body of the motor that is part of the tram in that kind of middle section over there kind of has a switch that kind of pushes all the way through it from side to side. So when it goes into this station, and it's currently set to bounce back at the moment, the switch would be sticking out on the left-hand side as we look at it. And as it runs into this angled piece, it pushes the switch in. And this one's out of the way, so it allows it to be pushed all the way through, thus reversing the direction, and the tram can go the opposite direction. So effectively, what I'm doing with this build that I've done is recreating this piece here, whilst not needing that piece at all, because we always want it to bounce back. So we'll see this in practice soon, but essentially if I have that mounted to the underside of the track, kind of like that, then when the tram comes in, it'll hit with its open switch, which will always be open on this side when it's coming in from that direction. It'll push it through, reverse the direction, and it'll go back whence it came. And hopefully that works. Now, my fear is that after being thwacked into several times by the tram, this might become separated. And if it does, then, well, it's not going to be very good because the tram is just going to drive straight off a cliff into the abyss that is the standing hole. And I really wouldn't want that because, well, A, it's a lovely tram, and B, well, the monorail bits are very valuable. So we'll have to do the first few runs standing where I am now, ready to catch it should it get a bit exuberant and miss the switch. But right now I've got to think about where I'm going to put all of these stanchions in what was a very populated area. And I think the first thing I'm going to have to do is move this whole bus stop along that way a little bit, just to give us more space. So that's what I'm going to do next, and then we can get it all in. Okay, so that bus stop has moved just 4 studs actually to the left, just to make way for the rather large stanchion of the monorail. And I think that's looking good. And I've got a nice broad brick along the top so it can kind of connect to more than one piece of the monorail track and give it a bit of strength. We already had the one on this side, and then the one here, I've just increased the 3-coloured stripe bit just to incorporate an inverted slope, so that one can get a bit more support on the second piece as well. And I've got the two long tile pieces which I can still use on the very end near the standing hole, because that will be where the track will be as if it was cut off by a massive guillotine, but in world at least it will continue on to other districts of the city. So I'm hoping that that is all going to be enough strength. So on with the track, on with my new sort of turning around switch device, and then we'll have to just test it with the actual tram itself. Alright, so all in and looking pretty swish. Very straight track there from that perspective, looking good. I've got the 2 long tiles on the end where the track has been guillotined, and it's absolutely in line with the end base plate. Kind of by coincidence really, but anyway, I'll take it. So we've got one support there, then we've got the thingamajig that will turn things around, and I've even put a profile brick on the side of that so it kind of looks like it's there for a reason, to do a job, and in a way it is there to do a job. Then we've got the big one there built into the pavement, which looks pretty good I think, just inset 1, spacing perfect. Still need to put the tree back, and then there's that one looking slightly changed but just as good. Yes, I think it's looking really nice. And that has left us kind of with 2 distinct plots, one either side of this track. People have suggested making a building that the tram goes through. I could do that, and I'm not saying I won't, but it's kind of harder to design a great big building with a huge hole in it. It kind of makes the building a lot worse at being whatever its initial job is. But it does mean I've got pretty much a 32 by 16 sort of site to build something here, and roughly a 16 by 16 sort of site here, unless I do move my arcade, which I might try and extend and put into the fairground in due course, but we'll see. I do quite like it there actually, because you can see it scenes very well. Right, so enough on what we can do another time, and on to finishing what we're doing today. So let's get this tram running, and I'll be ready to catch it in case this device does not do what it's supposed to. So as we watch the tram along the back wall there, going along its merry way, I was just reflecting on how wonderful it was not to have lights breaking up all of these long distance shots, so I'm really glad about that. But here we go, here is the moment of truth. I'm going to go one-handed on the camera into catching mode. Oh! Wow, I thought it missed then. It gets incredibly close to the end. Golly. Yeah, that's still intact. I'm going to have to watch that and check it, I think, for a few weeks until I get confidence in it, because it's just holding on with clutch power. It does only get hit in that direction rather than sort of down, but you can see why I'm concerned when you think about the huge drop that this thing would experience if it ever did fail. But I could incorporate it into another support, but it is kind of over the road, and that's why I even wanted to get the colour matching right for that plate, because it would look quite unsightly. But here we go again. Maybe I'll do a higher view this time. Incoming. Very good. Yes, I like that. It works really well. So I'm going to consider the monorail system finished for this city now, I think. Some people did want me to have it going all the way down this street, but I figure it's just going to block all these lovely views. I mean, it's quite a big and unwieldy system to use, and having it servicing, well, a good majority of my city, I think is a good point. So should we wait for a third track of the tram coming in? Why not? It's a good view, isn't it? I do love that dip, even though a lot of people think it's pointless. It's largely to save money on the straight track, which is the most expensive. So I'm not in catching position at the moment. Yeah, it seems to be working reliably. Yep, still seems to be firmly attached. I'm going to call that a success. So as the tram bounces off once more, I thought I would show you another scene that I've added to the city, which was one of your suggestions. And that was to add a couple more people in costume, one as Tony Stark and one as a stormtrooper, on their way to the convention at the 5-star hotel. We've already got quite a few people dressed in costume, getting ready to go to the convention centre, which I'm assuming is kind of through the wall in that direction. Yeah, but I thought these two looked rather good. And they're having a coffee and wheeling their luggage on the way to the hotel, helmet in hand. Not fully in costume, but the Tony Stark character definitely looks like he's already sporting the right moustache and so on. So I think that's a really good fun scene with a coffee and so on. So here's your Bedoin. Cool. Oh, there's the tram again. Cool. Maybe we should do some tram cam. Well, I am really happy with the progress today. This lighting took a while, and it definitely took a while to research and so on, but the benefits should be long lasting, I think. And the amendments I've made, like that little scene and so on, I'm really happy with. And here's trust for you: do not fly off the cliff. Oh, that actually gets me every time. But that is a really good improvement to the monorail system. I think you'll agree. It's looking pretty good. And that thingamajig is relatively low profile on the track. So yeah, overall, I think I'm happy. So as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome Lego videos. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, we'll be doing a brick haul, as usual for a Wednesday. And then on Friday, we'll probably be going back to the fairground for some more ride action. But until then, see you